Welcome back to the deep dive. I want to start today with a scenario, and I think it's going to feel painfully familiar to a lot of people listening right now.
Oh, I think I know where you're going with this. The gap.
Oh, the gap, exactly. Picture this. You have spent years, maybe even a decade, studying a language. Let's use English, since that's our focus today.
Sure.
You've got the apps on your phone. You've got a Duolingo streak that's, hundreds of days long. You have the textbooks. They're all stacked up on your desk, maybe a little dusty.
All the grammar guides.
All of them. You've memorized conjugation tables for every single irregular verb. You could write an essay on the difference between the past perfect and the past continuous.
You are, on paper, a model student. You have all the data points. You can ace the test.
You can ace the test. That's the perfect way to put it. But then, the moment of truth arrives. You're in a coffee shop, you're trying to order, or you're on a Zoom call with an international team.
Or you just run into a tourist on the street asking for directions. The real world.
The real world. And you have to actually say something. You have to open your mouth and make sounds come out. Or what happened?
Freeze. The glitch in the matrix.
It's absolute paralysis.
Yeah.
You know the words. They're right there sitting in your brain. But they feel clunky. Your tongue feels too big for your mouth.
Right. And you're translating furiously in your head, aren't you? You're trying to assemble the sentence like a piece of IKEA furniture before you dare say it out loud.
Yes. And by the time you've got all the pieces lined up and you're ready to speak, the moment has completely passed. The conversation has moved on, and you just feel like a fraud.
It is the classic gap between competence and performance. Or, to put it more simply, it's the gap between knowing the language and actually doing the language.
Well, today on the deep dive, we are going deep on that specific paralysis. We're looking at a source that argues the solution isn't more vocabulary, it's not more grammar drills. The solution is physical.
It's a workout.
It's a workout. We are diving into a transcript from a workshop called Idioms Insight Day 29, which was led by two instructors, Jays and Isha. And they are all in on a technique that shifts the focus entirely from the what of the language to the how.
And that is a massive pivot. It really is. Usually when we look at language learning sources, we're talking about intellectual accumulation. We're treating the language like history or mathematics, a subject to be studied.
Right.
This source, it treats language like a sport or like learning a musical instrument. It's a physical skill that needs to be trained, not just learned.
Jace, who seems to be the lead instructor here, he frames it so perfectly right at the start of the transcript. He says, and I love this, we are stopping learning about English to start sounding like English.
That distinction is everything, isn't it? Learning about is academic. It's passive. You can learn about swimming by reading a book on hydrodynamics, but that doesn't mean you won't sink when you jump in the pool.
100%.
But sounding like that's active, that's performative, and the methodology they're teaching today, which is called shadowing, is essentially a gym workout for your mouth.
That is the central metaphor of this entire deep dive. They literally call it a guided workout for the mouth and ears. And honestly, looking through the drills they run, which we are going to break down in excruciating detail today, it feels like one. It's sweaty. It's uncomfortable at times. It is designed to push you to a point of failure.
And just like a real workout, if you aren't a little bit tired after doing it, you probably aren't doing it right.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for the next hour. We're going to unpack this shadowing technique, but we're not just going to give you the dictionary definition. We're going to try to simulate the workshop.
We're going to put you in the room.
We're going to walk through the specific drills from the source material. We've got a whole scenario involving a trip to Shimla, this beautiful hill station in India. We have another one about a lazy Sunday with chai and pakoras.
And we're going to look at why those specific examples matter so much, how they kind of hack your memory.
And then at the end, we're going to give you the exact protocol, the algorithm, really, that Jais and Aisha prescribe so that you can go and do this on your own starting tomorrow.
And I think it's important to flag something right up top. This technique, shadowing, it has a bit of a mystique around it,
Yeah, I've heard about it.
You hear about it in polyglot forums online. It's often cited as this secret weapon used by spies or UN interpreters. But because of that reputation, I think it's very often misunderstood.
That's a great place to start, because when I first heard the word shadowing, I thought, oh yeah, I know this, I do this. You listen to a podcast, you hit pause, you repeat what the person said, and then you hit play again.
And that is the #1 mistake. That is exactly what Jai says not to do. That's the trap.
Okay, so let's get into the mechanics. Part 1. What actually is shadowing, And why have we all been thinking about it wrong this whole time?
Right. So Jice opens the session by basically clearing the debris of all the old methods. He says most people think practice is this very linear sequence: input, pause, process, output.
Okay.
So you hear the sentence, "The cat sat on the mat." You pause the audio, your brain kicks in and says, okay, subject.cat, verb.sat, preposition.on. You check the grammar, you make sure you understand it.
You're analyzing the data.
You're analyzing the data, and then you say in your own accent, using your own comfortable timing, the cat sat on the mat.
That is repetition. That's what we all did in high school language labs with those giant headphones. That's listen and repeat.
Exactly. And listen, repetition has its value for, say, memorizing a single vocabulary word. If you just need to remember that gato means cat, repeating it 20 times might work.
Sure.
But for fluency, for the ability to speak smoothly and without thinking, he argues it's fatal. Because in that pause, you are using your conscious analytical brain. You are reconstructing the sentence from scratch.
Ah, so you're not learning the flow of it. You're just verifying the components.
Precisely. You're translating it from English input to your version of English. You are actually reinforcing your own native accent, your own hesitation, your own speech patterns.
So shadowing's big trick is it removes the pause.
It removes the pause, it removes the processing time, and it removes the safety net. Shadowing is simultaneous. You listen to the speaker and you begin speaking while they are still talking.
At the same time.
At the same time. You are trailing them by just a fraction of a second, like a shadow following a person walking down the street. You are repeating exactly what they say, when they say it, copying absolutely everything.
Okay, that sounds incredibly chaotic. If I'm talking when you're still talking, how do I even hear you? And how do I know what you're going to say next? I can't read your mind.
And that friction, that chaos is the entire point. This is what Jays calls the total imitation requirement. It's a kind of cognitive overload by design. You have to keep your ears open to the incoming stream of audio while your mouth is simultaneously outputting the previous stream of audio. It forces your brain to bypass that translation center.
So there's no time to think.
There is zero time to think about grammar rules. Zero time to wonder if you should use the past perfect tense. Zero time to feel self-conscious or embarrassed. You just have to ride the wave of the sound. You have to trust your ears and your mouth.
So you're essentially short-circuiting the part of your brain that overthinks and gets in the way.
You've got it. You're moving the act of speaking from your declarative memory system, which is where you store facts and dates and vocabulary lists, to your procedural memory system.
Which is where muscle memory lives.
Exactly. Procedural memory is for motor skills, like riding a bike or tying your shoes or playing the piano, things you do without conscious thought. You're turning English into a physical reflex, not an intellectual exercise.
And Joss is really, really specific in the transcript about what you're supposed to be copying. It's not just the words, is it?
No, absolutely not. If you just copy the words, you are missing like 80% of the benefit. He gives a whole list of elements: rhythm, intonation, the rise and fall of the voice, speed.
The tiny pauses between words.
Yes, the little micro pauses that we all do. And crucially, the linking of sounds. How get on becomes get on. You were trying to create a perfect clone of the audio profile.
He even says, if the speaker sighs, you sigh. If they laugh, you laugh.
If they slur their words together because they're speaking quickly, you slur your words together, you are becoming a vocal actor.
It sounds more like acting than studying, for sure.
It is acting. It's mimicry. And for a lot of adults, that can be a terrifying prospect. We don't like to mimic.
Right. It feels, I don't know, aggressive or childish, maybe?
I think so. And the source material addresses this discomfort head on, which I think is so important. Jays talks about what he calls the awkward phase. He warns the students right before they start their first drill. He says, this is going to feel strange. Your mouth will feel clumsy. You are going to miss words. You will sound like a broken radio.
And I love that he validates that feeling. Because if I tried this alone in my room and I immediately started stumbling and missing words, my first thought would be, I'm bad at this. This isn't for me. I should stop.
Of course.
Right.
We're conditioned to interpret that clumsiness as failure. But Jace is reframing it. He's saying that clumsiness is the physical sensation of your muscles learning a new, complex pattern.
So it's a sign that it's working.
It's proof that it's working. It's like learning a new dance step, or a golf swing, or a chord on the guitar. At first, your body fights it. You feel completely uncoordinated. You feel like, he doesn't use this image, but I always think of it like a baby giraffe trying to walk on ice.
A baby giraffe trying to speak English. I love that. It's so vivid.
That's what it feels like. Your tongue, your lips, your jaw, they're all doing something new. But the source makes a pretty bold claim here. He says, if you just push through that awkwardness, if you just keep making noise, even if it's gibberish for a few seconds, something clicks.
And how long does that take?
He says after about 10 or 20 minutes of continuous practice, something in the brain just gives up fighting.
He calls it muscle memory.
He says the mouth, the tongue, the jaw, even your breathing patterns, they start to remember the melody. And that word melody is so critical here. We tend to think of language as a collection of data points, of words, but spoken language is a song.
It really is. It has a tune.
It has a tune, it has highs and lows, it has tempo changes, crescendos. Every single language has its own unique music. The music of French is different from the music of German, which is different from the music of Hindi. Shadowing teaches you the music, not just the lyrics.
I never thought of it that way. You're learning the song of the language.
Yes, and to learn that song, you need the right setup. Jays gives a very short list of required gear. It's not a long list, but he seems pretty non-negotiable about it.
Okay, what do you need?
Number one, and he says this is crucial, headphones or earphones.
Okay, why are headphones so critical? Why can't I just, play a podcast on my laptop speakers and repeat that?
It's all about managing feedback loops. If you use speakers, the sound of the source audio mixes with the sound of your own voice in the room, and it all just gets muddy.
Right, it's just a mess of sound.
It's a mess. Your brain can't distinguish the input from the output. You need the source audio injected directly into your ear so it's the dominant sound. But, and this is a really key point, you also need to be able to hear your own voice.
So not super heavy noise-canceling headphones that block out the world.
Exactly. You need to hear the discrepancy. You need to hear the gap between the master track, the native speaker, and your track, your voice. You need to hear where you are flat or where you're sharp or where you're too slow. It's your own real-time feedback.
Okay, so headphones on. Next is a quiet place. Yeah. Makes sense. And about 25 to 30 minutes of full, uninterrupted attention.
Mm-hmm.
And the final piece of gear he mentions, it isn't a physical object.
No, it's a mindset. It's the willingness to sound silly.
Check your ego at the door. That's basically what he's saying.
It's the biggest barrier to entry for most adults. We hate sounding stupid. We hate making weird noises. We have spent our entire adult lives trying to project an image of competence.
Yeah.
But to speak a new language, you have to make weird noises. You have to contort your mouth into shapes it has never made before. You have to produce sounds that might not even exist in your native tongue.
So you have to be willing to be a beginner again.
You have to embrace it, Jize is effectively saying. You have to be willing to sound absolutely ridiculous for a month so that you can sound fluent for the rest of your life. It's a trade-off.
There's a quote from the transcript. I think it's Isha who says it later. Keep sounding a little silly until you sound amazing.
That's the whole philosophy in one sentence.
Okay, so we understand the theory. We've accepted that we're going to sound like a chaotic echo for a while. Let's move into the actual workout. This is where it gets practical.
Let's do it.
So in the transcript, this is where the second instructor, Isha, takes over. And the whole vibe of the session changes, doesn't it? If Jace is the strategist, the coach, giving the big speech about the game plan.
Then Isha is the personal trainer on the gym floor, counting your reps. She's right there with you.
Exactly. And the source actually describes the audio shifting here. It says there's a soft acoustic guitar on the background, a heartbeat rhythm. It sounds very zen.
And that is not accidental. That's a very deliberate pedagogical choice. It's important because anxiety tightens the throat. You physically cannot shadow well if you are tense.
I've never thought about that.
If your jaw is tight, you can't articulate properly. The sounds get trapped. Isha's first job is to induce a flow state. She wants you to be relaxed, but also completely alert.
And she starts with these drills. And I want to dig into these specific sentences she uses because they are not the random, the book is on the table sentences from old textbooks. They start with a very specific location.
I live in Shimla.
Shimla. For listeners who don't know, Shimla is a specific place. It's a very famous, very beautiful hill station in the Himalayas in India. It's known for its colonial architecture and its snowy winters. Why do you think they chose that? Why not just, I live in a city or I live in London?
Because specificity acts as a memory anchor. If you just say, I live in a city, your brain treats that as a generic, abstract concept. It's slippery. It has no texture, no color.
It's just data.
It's just data. But Shimla, even if you've never been there, the word itself is unique. It has a sound, a feel, and then she immediately builds on it. She starts painting a picture.
Right. The next sentences are, the weather is very cold today, and then it's snowing lightly on the hills.
Look at the sensory details packed into that. Cold, snowing, Hills. This forces you, the learner, to connect the English sounds to a visual and even a tactile reality.
Hmm.
You aren't just processing text, you're creating a little movie in your mind.
So you can almost feel the cold air.
Exactly. This is a concept in memory science called dual coding. You're storing the information as both a sound and an image, and that makes it stick so much better. When you shadow this, you aren't just saying words, you are embodying the feeling of being in a cold, snowy place.
And then the picture gets even more specific, even more high definition. I went for a long walk on Mall Road. I saw many tourists taking photos of Christchurch.
Mall Road, Christchurch. These are proper nouns, and this is a very subtle but extremely smart pedagogical move.
How so? Because honestly, I always find proper nouns kind of annoying when I'm learning a language because I don't know how to pronounce them correctly.
That's precisely why they are there. Most learners stumble on proper nouns. They treat them like speed bumps in the road of a sentence.
Yeah, you're driving along smoothly and then bam, a weird name.
Right. You're flowing along in English and suddenly you hit a name like Christchurch and you slam on the brakes. You pause, you try to pronounce it perfectly, you treat it as this separate, special object.
You're breaking the flow. You're breaking the flow. By embedding these names directly into a fast-paced shadowing drill, Isha is forcing you to treat the name as just another part of the rhythm.
So you can't stop to admire the church. You have to just say photos of Christchurch, as if it's one single word.
Exactly. It's teaching a concept called chunking. You're learning to smash words together into a seamless stream of sound. You are learning that names are just sounds like any other word in the sentence. They don't get special treatment.
Now, speaking of smashing words together, the drill suddenly changes gears. We leave the scenic, snowy hills of Shimla, and we get to what I'm calling the Momo's connection.
Ah, yes, the momos. Delicious.
The sentence is, I'm going to meet my friends, and we're going to eat momos.
This is a pivotal moment in the entire lesson. Up until now, Asia has been speaking with what I would call exaggerated clarity. She's been carefully enunciating every single syllable.
It's just snowing.
Teachers speak.
Yes, very clear teacher speak. But here, she drops in the gonna.
Gonna, the classic contraction of going to the...
This is the moment we leave the classroom textbook and we enter the real world. In a textbook, you read, I am going to meet my friends. If you actually speak like that in casual conversation, you sound
robotic. You sound like a GPS navigation system.
in 200 feet, you are going to turn left.
Exactly. Real native speakers reduce sounds. We are efficiently lazy. We want to get the meaning out with the least amount of effort. Going to becomes gonna. Want to becomes wanna.
And shadowing this forces you to learn that reduction naturally.
Yes. You don't have to teach a student some complicated phonological rule that says, in informal speech, reduce the vowel into when it follows a gerund. That's confusing. You just say, copy this sound, gonna, and they do. Their mouth learns it without their brain having to analyze it.
And it's interesting, isn't it, that she pairs this casual grammar gonna with casual food momos, which are a type of dumpling.
That creates what linguists call register consistency. It all fits together. The sentence, we're going to consume dumplings this evening, sounds stiff, formal, and bizarre.
Nobody talks like that. Nobody. But we're going to eat momos sounds exactly as you would actually make with your friends on a Friday night. Shadowing this allows the learner to physically feel the difference in their mouth between a formal presentation and a casual chat.
It's the mouthfeel, like with wine tasting. The mouthfeel of saying Christchurch is very sharp and crisp and precise. The mouthfeel of gonna eat momos is much softer. It rolls off the tongue.
And you cannot learn mouthfeel from a book. You have to chew on the words. You have to physically experience the relaxation of the jaw when you say gonna versus the slight tension of enunciating going to.
I love that idea, chewing on the words. Okay, so we've worked on rhythm, we've mastered reductions. Now Jace and Aisha decide to ramp up the difficulty again. They hit us with what they call the idiom injection.
Raining cats and dogs, the absolute classic.
The classic. The full sentence is, last week the weather was terrible, it was raining cats and dogs every day. Now look, we all know this idiom, it's a cliche, but why focus on it in a shadowing drill of all things?
Because idioms are a total nightmare for rhythm if you try to process them logically, word by word. If you break it down, raining, cats, and dogs. Your brain just gets stuck on the sheer absurdity of the image.
It's a pretty horrifying image if you take it literally. Pets falling out of the sky.
It's terrifying. But in natural speech, an idiom like that functions as a single lexical unit. It's basically one big word, raining cats and dogs. And it has a very specific melodic signature. It's like dee-da-day-day-bee.
So when you shadow it, you're not supposed to be thinking about animals at all. You're just memorizing a sound file.
Precisely. You are downloading the audio chunk into your brain. So later, when you're in a real conversation and you want to describe a heavy storm, you don't have to retrieve the individual words cats and dogs and assemble them with the conjunction and. You just hit play on the raining cats and dogs sound file that's now stored in your procedural memory.
And it just comes out smooth, no hesitation.
Flawlessly. And that is such a cool way to think about what fluency actually is. It's not about stringing individual words together faster. It's about having a bigger library of these pre-assembled chunks.
So the bigger your chunks, the more fluent you sound.
Correct. Fluent speakers think in phrases, not in words.
Now, there's a twist in this session that I found really, really clever. Up to this point, shadowing is essentially a passive activity. I follow you. You lead the dance, I follow. But here, Isha throws a complete curveball. She introduces an interactive element.
This is the bridge. This is the moment where we move from just parroting to actually speaking. It's a critical step.
Okay, so here's how it works. She gives a sentence. I went to the market yesterday. The learner shadows that. I went to the market yesterday. Simple enough. But then she asks a direct question. What did you do yesterday?
And then silence.
A terrifying 10 or 12-second gap of pure silence.
It feels like an eternity when you're the one who has to fill it. But the instruction she gives right before the silence is the secret sauce. She says, answer me, but keep the same rhythm.
That's the trick, isn't it?
That is the genius of this exercise. She's giving you the scaffolding. She gives you the musical structure of the sentence, the market, da-da-da. Now, she's asking you to keep her music, but write your own lyrics.
So I have to find something from my own life and fit it into that pattern. I went to the movies yesterday, or I played on the computer yesterday.
Exactly. You're slotting your own reality, your own content into her grammatical and rhythmic template. And this is exponentially harder than just repeating what she said.
Of course, because the cognitive load just went through the roof.
Massively.
Yeah.
You have to retrieve a memory from your own life. Wait, what did I do yesterday? Then you have to translate that idea into English words, and you have to fit it into the timing and intonation constraints she just gave you.
It's a real-time puzzle.
It is. But it's also the closest simulation you can get to a real conversation. In real life, we subconsciously borrow the structure of the person we're talking to all the time. If I ask you, are you going to the party tonight? You'll often reply, yeah, I think I'm going to the party. You echo the structure back. This drill trains that echoing instinct.
And she does it again with the future tense, right?
Yeah.
She says, I'm planning to visit Manali next month.
And then she asks, what are you planning to do next month?
So she's drilling tense, past simple, future continuous without ever using those grammatical terms.
It's stealth grammar. It's brilliant. If you told a student, okay, now construct a sentence in the future continuous tense using a personal example, they would panic. They'd start searching their brain for the rule.
They'd freeze up.
They'd freeze. But if you just say, copy this rhythm, I'm planning to visit Manali, okay, now you do it with your own plans, they just do it. It completely bypasses the fear center. It bypasses the grammar monitor in their brain.
It's organic grammar.
Yeah.
It's learning by doing, not by studying rules. It's how children learn their first language.
That's it, exactly. They absorb patterns, they don't learn rules.
Okay, so we've done the isolated sentences, we've done the interactive Q&A. Now we arrive at what I'm calling the boss battle of this workout, part 4, the narrative arc.
The perfect Sunday.
This is a major shift from single sentences to a full paragraph. Up until now, everything has been bite-sized, manageable chunks. But this is a long, continuous passage. And it's just a lovely little story.
It really is. It creates a complete scene, a whole atmosphere.
It describes waking up late, around 10 o'clock, having hot chai out on the balcony. There's a cool breeze. The mountains look clear. Then friends come over. They play cards, they eat pakoras.
From a teaching perspective, this is endurance training. A single sentence is like a 100-meter sprint. This paragraph, this is a middle distance run. It requires stamina.
Why is a full paragraph so much harder to shadow than a series of separate sentences?
Two main things, flow and breath control. With a single sentence, you can take a big breath, say the sentence, and then stop and reset. In a paragraph, you have to manage the transitions. You have to learn how to link the end of one sentence to the beginning of the next one without losing momentum. You have to maintain the overall pitch and tone. You have to sound like you're telling a coherent story, not just reading a list of facts.
And Isha's process here is very structured. She reads the whole paragraph once at a normal conversational speed. Then she breaks it down, reading it very slowly, line by line. And then, this is the hard part, she asks the listener to shadow the entire paragraph with her at normal speed.
That's the final exam for this session. Can you hold on to the thread for a full 30 or 40 seconds? Can you maintain that level of intense concentration for that long?
And she gives this one piece of advice right before you start, which I think is just as applicable to life as it is to language learning. She says, even if you miss some words, just keep going.
That might be the most critical instruction in the entire workshop. Just keep going. Don't stop.
Why is that so important? If I miss a word, shouldn't my instinct be to stop and fix it? Isn't accuracy the ultimate goal?
No, not in this exercise. That's the perfectionist trap that keeps so many language learners stuck. In a real conversation, if you stumble over a word, you don't reboot. You don't just freeze and stare at the person until you can say it perfectly.
No, you recover. You keep the conversation moving.
You recover. You move on. Perfectionism is the enemy of fluency. If you're shadowing and you miss a word and you stop to correct yourself, you've immediately lost the rhythm of the speaker. You've fallen off the treadmill. The goal of this paragraph drill isn't 100% verbal accuracy, it's 100% rhythmic flow.
It's like if you're playing in a band and the drummer misses a single beat. They don't stop the whole song and say, sorry, everyone, let's take it from the top.
No way. They just keep playing, they stay in the pocket, they find the next beat, and they lock back in. And that's what this perfect Sunday passage teaches. It teaches conversational resilience. It teaches you to prioritize the overall message and the melody over any single individual word. If you miss the word breeze, but you keep the rhythm and flow of the sentence, you're winning.
And I have to point out again, the cultural details here are so warm. Chai, pakoras, which are kind of fried snack. Playing cards with friends.
It all circles back to that idea of grounding the language in a real lived experience. These words have warmth and texture. Eating pakoras and playing cards feels like a specific cozy memory. It invites the learner into a tangible world.
It's so much better than if the text was, I don't know, I ate a sandwich and I watched television.
Exactly. That's sterile. It's generic. It has no emotional resonance. This paragraph stops being English practice and it starts being a story about a really nice day.
And that's when you really start learning, isn't it? When you forget that you're learning because you're just absorbed in the feeling of the content. You become emotionally engaged. You actually want to be on that balcony with the chai in the mountains.
That's the zone. That's where internalization happens.
So the workout part wraps up, the background music swells, you're, metaphorically sweating, your jaw is a little tired. But you are not done. Jays and Isha have a protocol for you to take home. They don't just say, good job, see you tomorrow. They give you a very specific algorithm for success.
This is the take-home value. This is the part that empowers the learner, because you can't just rely on their guided audio tracks forever. The goal is to be able to do this with any content you find out in the world.
Right. So let's break down this 5-step homework assignment they give. If you're listening, this is the part you might want to write down. This is the blueprint for doing it yourself. Step 1 is selection.
Choose a clip. They suggest a movie scene, a TED Talk, or maybe even a song. But the key constraint here is length. 1 to 2 minutes, maximum.
That seems incredibly short. Why not a whole podcast episode? Why not a 20-minute documentary?
Because the goal here is to go deep, not wide. Shadowing is incredibly intense cognitive work. If you try to shadow a 30-minute podcast, you will burn out in 5 minutes, your concentration will be shot, and you won't be able to do the necessary repetitions.
So it's about mastery over quantity.
It's about complete mastery. You need a bite-sized chunk that you can completely own. The goal is to reach 100% alignment with that 2-minute audio clip. You can't possibly do that with a long file.
Okay, so keep it short. Step 2, comprehension. They say you have to listen once, just for meaning. No shadowing yet.
Do not skip this step. It's so important. You cannot mimic emotion or intonation if you don't understand the context. Is the speaker angry? Are they happy? Are they being sarcastic? That completely changes the pitch and the speed and the melody.
So you need the context first.
You need to download the meaning file before you can download the sound file. If you shadow without understanding, you're just a parrot making noises.
Okay, step 3, the shadow. Listen again and repeat simultaneously, and they're very specific. Do this 3 to 5 times.
This is the gym set. This is where you do the reps. One time is never enough. The first time you do it, you'll be clumsy, you'll stumble. The second time, you'll start to catch the rhythm. By the fifth time, you might even be anticipating the sounds just before they happen.
The muscle memory is kicking in.
That's where the muscle memory locks in. You need that repetition to smooth out the neural pathway in your brain. It's like carving a path in an overgrown forest. The first time is hard work. By the fifth time, it's a clear trail.
I like that. Okay, step 4 is the one that I think most people, definitely including me, would want to skip. It's the one that hurts. Verification. Record yourself.
Ugh, the painful step. Nobody on Earth likes listening to the sound of their own recorded voice.
It's excruciating. I sound like a complete stranger to myself. Why do we hate it so much?
It's a real physical phenomenon. It's about bone conduction versus air conduction. When you speak, you hear your own voice partially through the vibrations in your skull, which makes your voice sound deeper and richer to you. When you hear a recording, you're only hearing it through the air, which is how the rest of the world hears you.
Okay, but why is it so necessary for this process?
Because when you are speaking and shadowing in the moment, your brain tricks you. You think you sound exactly like the native speaker. Your internal monitor is telling you, yeah, you nailed that. That was perfect. But the recording is objective truth.
The recording doesn't lie.
The recording doesn't lie. It will show you, clear as day, oh, wow, I was way too slow in that section, or I completely missed the way her voice went up at the end of that question, or I didn't pronounce the T sound at the end of that word.
It's like game tape for an athlete. A quarterback watches the tape to see their throwing mechanics. Language learners need to listen to their voice memos.
That's the perfect analogy. It is the only reliable feedback loop you have if you don't have a personal coach sitting right there next to you. It forces you to confront the reality of how you sound.
And finally, step 5, reflection. After you listen back, they say to notice what sounds natural.
This closes the loop. It turns the painful practice into a source of confidence. You listen back, and even if 90% of it sounds clumsy, you find that one sentence, or even just one phrase where you actually nailed it.
A little victories.
Yes, you find that one moment and you think, hey, for 2 seconds there, I actually sounded American, or I sounded British. That little dopamine hit is what provides the motivation to keep you coming back for the next session. You have to celebrate the small wins.
And Jace prescribes this for just 10 to 15 minutes every single day. Not for an hour once a week, 10 to 15 minutes every day.
It's all about consistency over intensity. He uses this little formula in the transcript. Repetition leads to imitation, which ultimately leads to internalization.
Internalization. That feels like the holy grail of language learning, doesn't it?
It is. That's the end goal. Internalization means the language is no longer something you're consciously borrowing or translating. It's something you own. It's part of you.
It just comes out.
It just comes out. When you've internalized a phrase, you don't think about it. It becomes part of your neurological architecture. It's like when you first learn to drive a car. At first, you're thinking about the gas pedal, the brake, checking the mirror, the turn signal. It's overwhelming. Eventually, after enough practice, you just drive. You want to be able to just drive in English.
So it becomes your voice, not something you're copying.
Yes. Your own voice, speaking with a new melody.
You know, it's interesting. Looking at the source material, they also tease something exciting for day 30. This workshop was day 29 of a month-long course.
Right.
They mention a final review and mega quiz for day 30, and also a surprise gift for the students who made it all the way through.
Which is great gamification. It's smart teaching. It gives the learner a clear finish line for the month. It creates a sense of journey and accomplishment. But honestly, the real gift is the technique itself.
I agree.
Because once you know how to shadow properly, the entire world of media becomes your personal language lab. Netflix isn't just entertainment anymore. It's a training ground. YouTube isn't just a distraction. It's a dojo. You can shadow your favorite actors, your favorite news anchors, your favorite scientists, anyone.
That's a powerful shift in perspective. Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, let's zoom out. We've analyzed this specific transcript from Jace and Aisha in a lot of detail, but the implications here are huge for anyone learning any language.
I think the single biggest takeaway is that we need to start treating language learning as a physical sport. For centuries, we've treated it as a purely academic, intellectual subject, but it's more like learning to play the saxophone.
How so?
You can study music theory for years, you can read every book ever written about the saxophone, but until you put the reed in your mouth and you actually blow, you are not making music. You have to train the muscles in your lips, your cheeks, your diaphragm.
And it requires you to make noise.
Yes! That's such a simple but profound point. You cannot learn to speak silently in your head. You have to make noise. You have to let your mouth make mistakes. And shadowing provides a safe container for that noisy, messy process.
It's a safe space to fail.
Exactly. You're alone, you've got your headphones on, you're just trying to match a beat. No one is judging you.
It's permission to be imperfect. The source material emphasizes that again and again. It feels clumsy. You will miss words. Sounds silly. That's not a bug in the system. It's a feature. It's the sign that you're pushing the boundaries of what your mouth can currently do.
And the payoff, which is stated very clearly in the source, is that your accent, rhythm, and confidence change dramatically. Not just your vocabulary, your confidence. That's the big one.
Why confidence?
Because when you know deep in your bones that your mouth can physically produce the sounds of a native speaker, you stop being afraid to open it. You start to trust your own machinery.
I love that idea that we are training the melody of the language. Jay said it right at the beginning. The mouth starts to remember the melody.
And once you have the melody down, the lyrics, the vocabulary are actually pretty easy to learn. The melody is the hardest, most fundamental part.
So here is my challenge to you, the listener. You don't need to sign up for a 30-day course to start this. You can do it right now, today. Find a podcast. Hey, you could even use this one. Or find a YouTube clip of someone whose voice you like. Put on your headphones.
Yeah.
And don't just listen. Shadow.
Be the shadow.
Exactly. Follow the voice. Mimic the pauses. Try to sound exactly like us or like your favorite actor. Just see what it feels like to have those words with that rhythm coming out of your own mouth in real time.
It changes the way you listen to language forever. You stop just hearing words and you start hearing flow. You start hearing the music in everything.
And here is a thought to leave you with. A bit of a provocation. We talk a lot in life about the importance of finding our own voice. But shadowing, by its very nature, is about trying on someone else's voice. You are literally copying their breathing, their pitch, their unique rhythm.
It's a profound form of acting. You could even say it's the form of empathy in action. You're trying to inhabit someone else's vocal reality.
It is. But think about this. If the language we use shapes how we think, does changing the rhythm and melody of how we speak change how we feel? When you shadow that relaxed Sunday passage, do you start to feel just a little bit more relaxed yourself? When you shadow the efficient, casual, gonna eat momos, do you feel a little more like a local, a little less like a tourist? Maybe fluency isn't just about knowing the right words. Maybe it's about having the ability to try on different vocal identities until one finally fits and becomes your own.
That's a fascinating thought. The mask you practice with eventually becomes your face.
Keep sounding a little silly until you sound amazing. That's the mantra. Find your Shimla. Find your Sunday and start speaking. Thanks for diving in with us.
See you next time.